Hey yogis, welcome to a seated ball yoga class. To follow the cues in this video, you need the ability to sit a little bit forward in the chair. You need mobility in at least one leg or foot. Have the ability to hold one of these approximately 9-inch soft balls and to be able to get down onto the floor. If you're unable to practice all of these cues, you may be able to do some of the suggested movements. Most importantly, stay safe and do not let your ego run your practice. Contact me if you'd like help modifying any part of this ball practice. If you can, sit in a chair similar to this one. I know very few people have one just like this, but a chair in which you can really move the arms around. So let's get started. We'll hold the ball in front of us and pass it from hand to hand. Looking for a really good range of motion, bringing the ball back behind you if your shoulders will allow that. Passing it right and left. Seeing if you're able to get a little bit further back maybe. And let's introduce a little bit of a twist. We've been starting with the shoulders square to the screen. And now when we pass the ball, we're going to bring it behind us a little bit. You can keep the eyes on the ball or the hand or the wrist. As we come into a spinal twist, right and left. And the next time we come back to center, let's bring the ball down onto the lap and hopefully it'll stay there. It's okay if you want to have kind of that karate chop, the outside edge of the hand resting on the ball, and shrug up and down the shoulders a few times. Easy shrugging motion. And then practice one shoulder at a time. And release the shoulders down and see that you're sitting squarely on your sits bones with that long spine. Next, we're taking the ball in front of us, holding it in both hands at approximately shoulder height and twisting from side to side. And when the shoulders stay square like this, it's not uncommon to find that you're not able to go quite as far into the twist. And finally coming back to center, we're going to take the ball behind us, put it behind the thoracic spine so it's resting on the back of the chair. And this is why the sits bones have to be a little bit further forward to make room for the chair. I'm interlacing my fingers behind the back of the neck and starting to lift the chin, but not overstraining the neck. And then see if the shoulders can go back any amount to get into this back bend. The sternum is lifting, the shoulders are more or less relaxed. The head isn't dipping too far back because the hands are there like a hammock to protect the head from going back. And then lift the chin up to come back up to a seated position, either keeping the elbows wide or in front or somewhere on that range. And one more time, reaching back a little bit, coming into this back bend and all the way up again. Let's take the hands down, reach behind for the ball, bring it down. And we're going to lift the ball up into the air on the right side and reach low on the left. And coming back, let's do it on the same side a few times. Reaching down with the left, reaching up with the right. And one more time. Reaching as high up as you can get that ball and as low down as you can get the left hand safely. And back up and we'll switch sides. holding the ball up, and reach, reach, reach down, and return up to a straight spine. Second time, coming over, and back up, and last time, reaching, 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 finding that really big C curve of the spine, and back up. We'll bring the ball down, and we'll have a little fun working on fast twitch control, tossing the ball up into the air and catching it. And maybe you keep the ball nice and low, keeping your eyes on the ball, obviously, in your hands. And maybe you'll see if the ball can get up a little bit higher. And if you have anybody to practice with, tossing the ball back and forth is a great idea. If you have progressive lenses, I feel for you. I do too, and it adds a little more dimension to this activity. Okay, finally, bringing the ball onto the lap and bending forward. You can either keep the hands on the lower legs, or you can start to reach down for the floor. And this should really open up the low spine. Now again, please don't let your ego run your practice. Make sure that you're really feeling secure and safe in this forward fold. The hips have to remain heavy behind you as there's this leaning action to get a little more distance between the vertebrae. And come all the way up. We'll bring the ball out in front of us, and I'll turn this way so you can see how I'm holding the ball, and I'm pulsing my hands into the ball, trying to keep the scapula, the shoulder blades, down on the back body, trying not to bring too much unneeded energy into the neck region, but really feeling that energy in the wrists, the lower arms, certainly the shoulders, and the upper back body. Let's bring the ball down for just a moment to rest those muscles. And next, we're going to put the ball in between the elbows. You need to use the front of the chest to get that ball there, and mine isn't quite where it needs to be. And then we're practicing pressing in on the ball from here. This pulsing action of the elbows coming in to squeeze the ball, and at the same time, keep the scapula down. So it's not kind of protruding out, but it's staying down, finding your tallest way to sit. Okay, and letting that ball go down, that's really exhausting those muscles for sure. Now we're going to work with the ball on the floor a little bit. So I'm going to turn my chair so you can see me more easily. You obviously don't have to turn your chair. And I'm going to put my right foot on the ball and roll my leg back and forth. I'm getting the ball onto the sole of my foot and then the heel of my foot. Rolling it in and out. And this is helping with balance. And let's try on the other side. Probably one of the hardest things you'll do in class today is to move that ball over to the other side to roll the leg out and in. Looking for a real smooth action in the knee. And you may choose to forego this next activity because it's not easy. I'm putting the ball in between my ankles. I'm scooting my hips out on the chair far enough that I can hold onto the chair and lean back a little. I'm retracting my navel and my belly, and I'm picking the ball up and putting it down, and picking up and put it down, and up and down. If this hurts your low back, please do not do it. This is a pretty tough exercise. And finally, getting that ball down onto the floor, you're really happy it's landed down there. I'm reaching down for the ball and bringing it back up, And next we're getting down onto the floor. And I know for some of you this is not attainable. When you get down onto the floor, make sure that the chair isn't too far away. So if you need the help of the chair to get up off the floor, it'll be nearby. We're coming down onto the floor to find a comfortable way to sit. You may want to put a pillow or a blanket underneath your hips. Some of you will be able to sit in this pose that's referred to in yoga as the pose of ease, and I always say easier for some than others. If this is not easy for you, then the feet can be out in front like this. I'm taking the pose of ease, otherwise known as Sukhasana, with the ball underneath my left hand, and I'm leaning toward the left and coming back in. And we'll repeat that action out and in a few times. I know some of you don't have all the yoga props, but it is possible if you have two blocks to put the blocks underneath your knees, and that can make sitting in this position a little more attainable, or I should say a little more comfortable. If this is really easy for you, then you can bring the upper arm coming over to the opposite side and back up. And that arm is being used to help exaggerate the stretch of the back body, trying to get me to sit up nice and straight and tall, even as I roll over onto the side. Now in class, I always go rather deep so you can actually see the action. You may not go this far, and maybe you want to keep your hand down on your waist. This is fine too. Let's practice on the other side. I'm bringing the ball over, and I always believe in starting small. So even if you have the strength in your trunk to be able to have the hand up, let the body warm up a little bit by starting to come over in this more easy way. And then perhaps the arm will come up, and maybe that means that you don't lean quite as far, or maybe it really helps you with the big lean out to the side. You decide. This is your practice. Most important to stay safe. Okay, and one more time if you can do it. Take a break if you need to. Coming all the way back up. And yogi's choice, again, if this seated position comes easy to you, can stay there, maybe changing the cross of the legs, or maybe this is a good time to come up onto the soles of your feet with the ball in front, and we're rolling the ball forward and back. And the reason for doing this, you can do that karate chop hands or have your hands on the ball, but we're looking for a very smooth action coming forward and back. And we're doing this to find that stretch in the low back. See if you can muster a little bit of a smile as you do this. That would be really good. Okay. Next, I'm going to bring both of my legs over to one side, and I'm getting down on my elbow on the other side, putting the ball underneath my lower leg, and I'm going to run the ball back and forth. And I'm sorry, my ball's a little squeaky. I hope that's not too loud, but I'm trying to get the leg back to open up this hip flexor. There are two hip flexors there, two on each side. And I'm rolling the ball back and forth to get this, this action of stretching the hip flexor. If this feels good, you might even hold this stretch a little bit, or you can continue to find movement coming back and forth. I don't know how to make this ball squeak less. Okay, and we're going to press ourselves up, grab onto the ball, and we're coming over to the second side. I'm going to move my hips away a little bit. Legs over onto their own side. it kind of looks like a Z. That's what I refer to it as. The knee is down on the floor, the foot is down on the floor. I drop down onto an elbow, and then I put the ball underneath the lower leg. And this hand can either be in front, wherever it feels like you're getting a little bit of support, a little bracing. And then try not to be picking up this leg. Let this whole section of the IT structure be relaxed as much as possible, because the more relaxed that leg can be, perhaps the greater stretch you're going to find. You'll see that I'm kind of straightening my leg behind me, but it's not important. I can also do it with a bent leg and get a little bit of stretch in my quadricep muscles, which are the big strong muscles on the top of the thigh. So going back and forth a few times. If it helps, you can engage the core a little bit by bringing the navel in toward the back body and feeling the strength of those muscles. Okay, enough of that squeaking, right? Okay, now I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to come down onto my back. And you might want to just take a look before you come onto your back and see what I'm going to do. I'm rolling onto my back, holding the ball up in the air, and getting the ball in between my feet and bringing my arms down. I have my arms up to the sides, palms face down, to help kind of support this pose. Your legs may not be straight or straightish, they might be kind of bent, but we're going to bend the knees and straighten the legs, or come as close to straight as you can without any pain or strain. And some of you may be able to bring your toes all the way down to the floor and back up again. And it's not important, nobody gets graded here. You already got straight A's for coming to class, for trying this video. So the feet do not have to touch the floor. Yogi's choice, and choose wisely for your body. We're trying to lift the ball up so we can feel that big stretch on the backs of the knees, as if the knees are yawning. And then we can put the ball down onto the floor so the legs can take a little bit of a break. I know for some bodies it takes a lot of energy to keep the ball up in the air. It takes a lot of lower core work to do that. If you're ready for the next, we're bringing the knees in toward the chest, bringing that ball up into the air, and then I have to replace the ball a little bit, get it well situated between the ankles, and then I'm rolling the ball in my ankles, kind of scissoring my legs back and forth. Sometimes the ball drops. We used to do this in class a lot, and the balls were going everywhere. So don't feel embarrassed if the ball gets away from you. It just means you have to go reaching for it. This is using, of course, the abdominal wall and the abductors and adductors for the legs to work like this. Okay, finally, reach up for the ball, bring the feet down onto the floor. You can roll over onto a side to press yourselves up. And next we take the ball behind the thoracic spine. Interlace the fingers behind the back body, and this is very similar to what we were doing in a seated position, where we're dropping the head back and coming back up again. And even though I said dropping the head back, you can keep the chin in toward the chest. The idea of this is not a neck stretch. It's finding articulation in the spine. Going up and down a few times. And for some of you, this may feel really quite delicious. For some of you, this is going to get boring after a while. So you might try planting one foot down, hovering the other foot off the floor as you come up and down. And this is a little bit of a balance practice, because the core has to learn to stabilize, to stay only on one leg. Maybe then the extended leg comes in, you stretch out the other leg for continuing to go up and down. And remember, you might be doing this. Maybe this feels good to you. If you're a big back bender, you're gonna really like the idea of coming further back. Okay, finally, when the chin gets well up into the chest, you can drop that foot down onto the floor. Keep the chin in toward the chest, drop the hands down, and pick up the hips. And then, I'm not going to roll around a lot because of the noise, but you can roll around a bit. When you go up and down on the ball, it works on stabilization for sure. If you try to get your torso to go a little side to side, that's going to get even more of the mobility going. Maybe you keep your feet planted and you just move a little bit to one side and move a little bit to the other side, dropping one elbow down, other elbow up. Make sure that you're really supporting your head because the weight of the head is quite significant here. And then chin well into the chest, drop the hands down and press yourselves up to be able to sit in a more natural seated position. I hope you've developed a good relationship with the ball that you're working with. It can be a lot of fun to do this kind of activity, and I hope you found a few things that make it fun to work with a ball. Bring the hands together at heart center. And take a few deep cleansing breaths with the eyes closed or the gaze soft. May all beings be free of fear and harm. May we all be happy just the way we are. May we all be at peace whatever comes. And may we rest gently in the softness of our own hearts. Namaste. Thank you for trying the ball class.